Oh, I am the multi-voice reviewer. I have many voices, but one opinion. That's right. I got myself a catchphrase, folks, and I thought this would be pretty cool to have. Anyway, one thing I'm going to review. Ever since I saw it's been released in theaters recently, here's one thing I got something to say. Since the new Child's Play movie has been released in theaters recently, well, it was supposed to be in theaters on 21st, but anyway, since this new Child's Play is coming out in theaters pretty soon, I decided I have collected a lot of Chucky movies recently. So, therefore, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to review Child's Play. And I'm going to do my impression of Chucky.
Hi, I'm Chucky. Wanna play?
Sorry, Jack. Chucky's back. A lot of kids tell me I laugh like Chucky. And that kind of creeps me out. Anyway, let's get to the movie, shall we? This movie was made way back in 1988. And believe it or not, when I remember when I was a little kid, when I first saw this movie, well, let's just say that creepy dolls always tend to give me the willies. I used to get scared by creepy and scary looking dolls. And right after I started collecting a lot of action figures recently, I finally stopped being kind of scared of creepy dolls and action figures because well, oh yeah, and another thing I forgot to mention. Not many people know that Chucky was based from an idea from an episode of the Twilight Zone. And for those of you who haven't seen my Twilight Zone review, you should stop this video and go all the way and check out my Twilight Zone review. I can wait. Okay? Have you seen it? Good. Now we can move on. If those of you remember the episode of The Twilight Zone, there was this talking doll called
I'm talking Tina and I don't like you. I'm talking Tina and I'm going to kill you.
Now, that episode of The Twilight Zone, Talking Tina, was the inspiration of Chucky, among with other horror movies involving killer dolls. But, ever since I faced my fears of dolls and action figures and even having collection of them, I haven't even have a single action figure who ever gave me the willies or even haunted me. Although there is one Joker doll here who is really ready to treat Multi-Voice Reviewer the same way I want to treat Batman. Did anybody ever heard about a clown doll or something like a Joker somewhere? Sooner or later, if I get myself a Batman costume, I would like to deal with that little clown. Anyway, the actor who does the voice of Chucky, his name was Brad Dourif, and he was in this movie. He plays Charles Lee Ray. Kind of reminds me of different. I mean, Charles Manson, of course. Forgot the other serial killers who had their name Lee and Ray. Anyway, in the beginning in this movie, you have Brad Dourif playing this serial killer who goes by the name of Charles Lee Ray, and of course there is this cop. Chris Sarandon, who plays the cop. Yeah, that's right. The same Chris Sarandon who plays the vampire on Fright Night, and also played Prince Humperdinck in the Princess Bride. Note to self: review Princess Bride, because there's one impression I like to do. Hello, my name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die. Anyway, back to the review, shall we? Anyway, after Brad Dourif, who plays Charlie Ray, he noticed that he was dying, so he decided to find himself a doll so he can cheat death. And he has this amulet called the Heart of Tumbala. And it's supposed to be some sort of amulet, and it's got something to do with voodoo because he dabbled into voodoo and such. So he said his incantation and implanted his soul into a doll. And of course, the store was selling those dolls exploded. So a hobo found a doll, and there is this mother who's played by Catherine Hicks. Some of you probably remember her from Seventh Heaven, or also she was in Star Trek Voyage Home, and among other things. Anyway, she plays the mom. Her son named Andy, who needs all he wants is one of those good guy dolls. Good guy dolls who talks to you and be a best friend to you. And of course, a lot of people say that they base Chucky out of a Cabbage Patch Kid. You know, I can do a good impression of a Cabbage Patch. Here's my impression. anyway, anyway, back to the show. Anyway, this hobo had this doll around in his cart, and the mother finally got the doll. And as he gave the doll to Andy, Andy was really happy to have Chucky. But here are the things. Now, in the beginning, it made people think that Andy's doing the killings. Like, he killed this one guy who used to be Charles Lee Ray's partner, but he double crossed him, and also starts killing until Chucky revealed himself that he is still alive, but inside the doll. And of course, he meets this guy who is into voodoo. He meets this guy who is into voodoo, and this guy who was into voodoo, he knew that he was evil. He didn't know he was evil, and he told him that he needs to find himself a living body, or else he'll be stuck in this doll forever. And the strangest thing, Chucky, the killer doll, used a voodoo doll to kill his voodoo friend. That's interesting. A killer doll used a voodoo doll to kill somebody else. Anyway, Andy's mom starts to realize that something's really fishy going on, and nobody didn't believe nobody didn't believe Andy because Andy kept telling them that it was Chucky doing all the killing, but they still don't believe him. And of course Andy's mom wants to prove it, so he looked on the doll and going like, "This is silly." And then she looked in the box, and all of a sudden it shows there's a pair of batteries inside of a box. And also looked in the box, it says batteries included. So she looked into the doll, opened up his back, and discovered that his battery slot was empty. And of course, Chucky's head turned around going like,
Hi, I'm Chucky, wanna play?
and she dropped him. And then, when she turned on the fireplace, she said, "You better talk or I'm gonna toss you into the fireplace." And all of a sudden, Chucky just went like, "You stupid witch, don't F at me!" And as she was trying to tell the cop didn't believe him, so he sat in his car, and then Chucky starts strangling him with a piece of wire. And of course, as he was hitting the gas on his car, running fast, Chucky grabs a knife and tries to stab through his car seat. And then when his car crashed, Chucky tried to go towards the cop, but the cop fired his gun. So now the cop believes her, and Andy. And now Chucky is planning to go to that hospital where Andy is at, and he's trying to get inside Andy's body. Yeah, and there was one scene in the movie that he said a line that I had to say was really, 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 really uncomfortable. In the movie, he says, I have a date with a 6-year-old kid. Ugh. I even feel bad. I feel worse saying that. Ugh. Anyway. The cop and the mom finally believes him. And of course, Andy tried to escape the hospital. And when Chucky was about ready to kill Andy's mom, Andy and his mother put Chucky in the fireplace and turned on the gas. And of course, Chucky said, "Don't, Andy. We're friends to the end." And Andy said, "This is the end of our friendship." Now he's all crispy. But it turns out he ain't dead. He's still alive. He starts coming after Andy and the mother, but the cops showed up and shoot his arm off and shoot his leg off and also shoot his head off. That's starting to make me think of Mighty Python and the Holy Grail. "'Tis but a scratch. A scratch? I cut your arm off." "No, you haven't." "And what's that then?" "Just a flesh wound." "Rather have your leg. What? I'll get you for that. You what? Come on then. What are you gonna do? Bleed on me? I'm invincible! You a loony." Anyway, the cop's partner showed up, and the cop tries to tell him that it's Charles Lee Ray. He's alive, and he's inside the body. And, and the partner was like, "What a bunch of ridiculous loon." And then the doll grabbed him by the throat. And then all of a sudden, the partner grabs the burnt doll bottom half and tossed him into the side. And the mother said, "Head! Shoot him in the head!" And then he fired his gun, and finally blood come out of the body. And then the head was like, "I am Chucky, want to play?" And that was the end. But not for long! Now, what I have here, folks, is the entire DVD collection of the other Child's Play movie. The reason why number 1 is not in this box, because this one was owned by MGM, and this is owned by Universal. Imagine that. Now, Child's Play 2 leaves out the mom, saying that she's in an insane asylum. But they try to bring Andy through therapy in the orphanage. And all of a sudden, there was this family who adopted him. And also, they bought a doll, and he says,
"Hi, I'm Tommy. Wanna play?"
but Chucky, who figures out where Andy is, sneaks up into to the foster to the foster parents' house, and then he destroyed Tommy the doll. It's the first time you ever see Chucky kill a dummy double, a doll double to be precise. Anyway, and also turns out that Chucky was trying to possess Andy this time, and of course he has a sister, a foster sister to be precise. And one thing I gotta say, the actor who plays the father, he does look pretty creepy. He should have played a bad guy in this, like he's in on it or something. And I recognize the mother. She was in American Werewolf in London, and she's British, believe it or not. Anyway, same old story. Chucky discovered that his nose was bleeding because he was in this plastic body for so long that he will never get himself a new body. And of course, the sister-in-law discovers that Andy was innocent and tries to help Andy, while Chucky took Andy all the way to the factory where they make all those good guy dolls. And of course, as usual, Andy, the foster sister, battled off Chucky, and they pretty much they had his hand trapped, so he ripped his hand off and put a knife on it instead. And of course, had him sewn together on this table with wheels on it. And also put him in the compactor where they put all the extra limbs on him. And then they poured melted plastic on Chucky. And the girl found an air hose and put it in his mouth, and his hair expanded, and boom, he's dead. And that was the end of Child's Play 2. Then on Child's Play 3, Andy gets recast by another actor, and in this one, he ends up in a military school. And Chucky tries to get himself into the military school, tries to take revenge on Andy, but now he found a black kid, and he thought, I think I'm gonna take this kid's body. And here's a little game I like to play I called Hide the Soul. Same as usual, Andy and the girl in the military school he meets, they both start liking each other. There's the bully who's a jerk, and they finally, and they try to stop Chucky, and then they toss Chucky's body into this big fan in a horror house theme park. He got his face cut off. Well, actually, his face just cut off right here. And then just tossed the rest of his body in the fan and died. And then comes the horror sequel, which turned out to be more of a comedy, starring that lovely and sexy Jennifer Tilly. Whew. Okay. Here's something I'm going to tell you very honestly, folks. Jennifer Tilly is my childhood crush. Because I was born in 1985, and she appeared in a lot of movies back in the 80s. And when I was a little kid, I thought she was so dang hot. And even that voice, whew, whew. It's getting hot in here, or is it just me? Whew. Anyway, Jennifer Tilly, she plays this girl called Tiffany, who turns out to be Charles Lee Ray's girlfriend. And she knew about Chucky, so she found the remains of his body and killed the cop who smuggled his body outside in her car. And then she sold Chucky up. That's why his face looks all sewn up, like in this picture here. And as he finally brought Chucky to life, she started keeping him in a crib with a bride doll. And Chucky hated that. So, what goes around comes around. He kills Tiffany while Tiffany was watching The Bride of Frankenstein. Oh, a little Easter egg, a little hidden message you should know. Chucky is supposed to be in the same universe as Michael Myers, Freddy Krueger, Leatherface, and Friday the 13th. Because in the evidence room where Chucky's body is at, you can find a chainsaw, you can find a hockey mask, you can find Michael's mask, and Freddy's glove in it. I'm not kidding. Watch Bride of Chucky. You're gonna find those things in the beginning of the movie. So, could it be possible that there might be a slasher universe where all the slasher characters cross over? I mean, I know they did Freddy vs. Jason, and I did heard about they were planning to have Freddy vs. Jason versus Pinhead from Hellraiser, and of course, they tried to do Freddy vs. Jason versus Ash, but sadly that became a comic book series instead. But it would be cool to see Ash kicking butt to those slashers, saying, "Groovy." Wish I had my chainsaw hand back. Anyway, back to the story. While Tiffany was watching The Bride of Frankenstein, Chucky killed her by pushing the TV in her bubble bath, electrocuting her. And instead of killing her for good, he started doing the voodoo and enchantment and put her body inside of a doll. And she was so paid off. And then she looked up in the voodoo book about the heart of Tambala and figures out that the heart of Tambala, it's buried in his corpse in Hackensack, New Jersey. Wow, they named the place. And of course, here's the joke part. Okay, let's go. Oh, sure. I'll steer and you can work the pedals. We're dolls, you dope! Anyway, they found a couple that this uncle who's a cop don't like the guy. So they killed him, killing anybody in their path. held the couple ransom and tried to implant their souls in their body. Oh yeah, and there also that one scene where Chucky and Tiffany made sweet, sweet love. That's all I'm gonna say. I'm just gonna say it like that. And then at the end of the movie, where that teenage couple finally killed Chucky for good. The cop was testing Tiffany's body. He hits her body with his gun. And then all of a sudden, a baby showed up. And that picks up where Seed of Chucky picks up where Bride of Chucky left off. Turns out that there was this confused, not sure if he's a guy or a girl character who goes by the name of Glenn or Glinda. And Jennifer Tilly is playing herself, and they're doing a Chucky movie behind the scenes. And there is this limousine driver who has a huge crush on Jennifer Tilly and try to tell her how much he loves her. Jennifer Tilly welcomes this rapper over, and Tiffany and Chucky decided that they should get Jennifer Tilly to be possessed and have Tiffany's soul inside of Jennifer Tilly. Dang. Glenn or Glinda, he's not much into violence, so every time when he sees Chucky try to kill somebody, Glenn or Glinda goes like this. And then throughout the entire movie, Chucky decided that he is Chucky, the killer doll. He decided not to put his soul inside of somebody's body. It's over. But one thing he did do, let's just say that they found a way to have a child. I just can't explain it because I know that there's some young kids watching this, so I had to leave it out. You just Parents, you should explain your kids. Anyway, Jennifer Tilly got pregnant with Chucky's child. That's all I'm going to say. But throughout the movie, Glenn or Glinda got really upset over Chucky for trying to kill Tiffany and Jennifer Tilly. And of course, Chucky grabbed an axe, hit the door, and you think he was going to say, "Here's Johnny" for the Shining reference, but instead he said, "I forgot what I'm supposed to say next." Well, forget it. I know I say forget it because I don't cuss on my show. But anyway, Glenn or Glinda finally killed Chucky. And now Jennifer Tilly is living a simple life and hinting that Jennifer Tilly is actually possessed by Tiffany and has a daughter who looks like a female version of Chucky, and also have a son named Glenn. And of course, when Glenn saw the arm of Chucky, little kid Glenn was going like this and pee his pants. That's another thing that Glenn or Glinda does. Every time when he sees something violent, his eyes starts twisting and starts peeing his pants. Oh, and another thing. Back then when I was a huge Britney Spears fan, I would have been a little peed off about it, but I discovered they use a Britney Spears look-alike, and showing that Chucky killed Britney Spears by smashing in her car. He said, "Get out of my way, witch!" And Britney Spears was giving the finger to Chucky. So she hits her car and it went on the edge and it exploded. And Chucky said, "Oops, I did it again, baby." And even Britney Spears saw the scene and she was peed off. I know some of you Britney Spears fans are going to be saying, "Leave Britney alone! Leave her alone!" Give me a break, will ya? And then they made another movie called The Curse of Chucky. And it turns out that Chucky was hiding because he discovers that there is a girl who turns out to be Charles Lee Ray's daughter but she's in a wheelchair. So he keeps trying to kill the people who are in the way and also tries to manipulate this little girl named Sarah. And then, oh, and a little known fact, Brad Dourif's daughter, Fiona Dourif, she's in this movie as the girl in the wheelchair, believe it or not. Well, I mean, you only see half of her, but every time when I look at her, I do see her dad sometimes. Because she looks exactly like him. No doubt about it. And then, sadly, folks, I forgot about this next movie made after Curse of Chucky called The Cult of Chucky. That just slipped my mind. Sorry I don't have any pictures of it. But one thing I would say about that movie, a lot of people did not like it. The girl is in the insane asylum, still in the wheelchair, with a bunch of loons, and they have 3 dolls of Chucky. And of course, they brought back the guy who played Chucky from the first movie. They finally brought him back, playing Andy again. And on this movie, he noticed that Chucky was still alive. And he also kept a decapitated head of Chucky who talks to him. But somehow Chucky found another voodoo curse that he can possess more than one doll, so now there are 3 Chuckies. And to make a long story short, he succeeded on possessing the girl in the wheelchair's body when her hair turned red, and Tiffany shows up. And now they chuckle and drove off, hoping that there might be another Chucky sequel, which sadly never happens. I guess that's the reason why they decided to skip the sequel and just make the remake of Child's Play. But the biggest difference between the original Child's Play and this remake, this one is more science fiction to be precise, where he is an AI doll who is programmed, and he's been observing all the violence from horror movies that Andy's friend's been watching. So now he keeps getting bad messages and signals. That's why he becomes a killer. And believe it or not, this Chucky is voiced by Mark Hamill. I'm not kidding. Luke Skywalker and the guy who does the voice of the Joker from the Batman animated series and the Gotham Knight games did the voice of this Chucky. How cool is that? But even though the remake changed everything, but Chucky still haven't changed in other social media. Like, for instance, they made a comic book of Chucky. And then they did a crossover comic book where Chucky deals with Hack Slash. Oh, what's that, watchers? You don't know what Hack Slash is? Well, Hack Slash is a series of comic books where you have this girl named Christy Hack. Her mother was a slasher because she was picked on by kids and her mother killed the kids. And and when the cops figured it out, she boiled her face and now she came back as a slasher. But Chrissy found her and stopped her. Meets this big guy named Flad, who is a big, ugly guy, but was raised by a jolly, friendly butcher. So now Vlad and Chrissy Hack teams up together to battle against slashers, and now they cross over with Chucky. Hmm. You know, Hack Slash deserves a movie. Just saying. Anyway, this is my review of Child's Play for today. If those of you who likes my review of the Chucky movies, please leave a comment down below, hit like and subscribe for more reviews. And next time, my next review is going to become a theory, a crossover theory. So, And if you want to know what my crossover theory is, it's going to be Chucky, but he'll be battling with something that I always wanted this crossover to happen. So, stay tuned.